Sorry, Mr. Quarry, you have not been able to tell us precisely what the law says in that respect. We asked you about timelines. You have not been able to tell us, what time frame was stipulated. You've not been able to answer why this was not brought up in 2015 or 2016 or 2017. Why it is that it is in 2018 that this has come up, only when this particular property has now been turned into the Secretariat of a faction, of a party that the governor belongs to.
The issue of governance, Makwe, has no time limit, because the wrongs that are being done in the society must be fixed, and it doesn't matter when. That is why I'm telling you that whenever the government has reviewed a particular issue and the government feels that such issue needs to be addressed, the governor, my governor Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, you know him, you know his capacity, is good to go for it.
So
and it doesn't matter when.
Can you brief us? Can you brief us? What does the law then say? I mean, if, for instance, your property is in breach, there must be a time frame given for you to rectify whatever breaches you might have incurred or you might have committed.
Not even a marking on the building.
Can you tell us?
Precisely. The time that is stipulated has been observed by the agency responsible.
What is the time?
By the agency responsible, and that was why they went ahead to demolish.
What is the time? You have not been able to tell us.
It's within the time.
Commissioner, I want to ask you, because there are, with such actions, there are large ramifications and a lot of unintended consequences, and I want to get into that. If you look at right now the relationship between the executive branch of government and the legislature, at the federal level in particular, what you see is a lot of contention, a lot of hostility, and really a lack of action because of that. Now, we have seen the Senate come out unanimously, actually, against what has happened in Kaduna State on Senator Hunkuyi's property. Now, what do you think the consequences of that ultimately will be for the Buhari administration's ability to pass through critical legislation moving into an election year?
Orderliness, because that is what the government seeks to restore. It seeks to restore order, and this is one of the steps. When demonstrated that it does not matter if you are flouting the rules, that it doesn't matter how highly placed you are, it will be dealt with. And my governor leads on this, and we are resolved to make sure that we observe all the due diligence that has been laid down in every circumstance, to make sure that orderliness, or the rules are observed, and then orderliness is restored.
So you don't see any political backlash for President Buhari because of this decision, or the party?
The backlash will be determined at the end of the day, and we are not really concerned about the backlash of election or not election. We are here to do a job. We don't usually think about the next 4 years or what will happen during the elections times. What we are trying to do is to do the right things and let the right things be done to determine what extends to either being re-elected or not. But the right things must be done now.
But I'm just wondering, Mr. Quarry, if indeed, there's certain matters, people will say are a little bit delicate. It is true that if indeed anybody is in breach of the law should take its course, whether or not you be high or low. Yeah. But considering just how this will affect perception, this particular matter, don't you think that the Kaduna State government should have taken great pains, to show that indeed this is what the law says and we are following the law in this instance? Do you think that the government has taken that into cognizance?
Absolutely.
In the action that it has currently taken?
Absolutely.
If indeed it has, how come is it that we're not seeing the dates, for instance? I mean, my colleague talked about a marking on the building. Usually when a building is up for demolition, we will see a marking that usually a lot of people will see for a long time.
How many days was it marked?
For a number of days.
It was marked according to what the information that got to us.
Okay, so yes. the information got to you that it was marked, but yes, you were not able to independently verify.
That was done. You saw the marking over time. Yeah.
Did you see with your own eyes that it was marked?
Yes, that's the house I passed through to my workplace every day.
How long did you see that it was marked for?
It took quite a couple of days. I can't remember.
A couple of days?
Yes, a month. Yeah.
Months. This building only became the Secretariat a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, we should say.
That's what I'm saying.
So within the days that it became the APC Secretariat, you know, it was marked, and at 4 a.m. one fateful Tuesday morning, it was pulled down.
Magway, I told you that this must have been within the confines of the law, setting the agency.
Commissioner, Nigerians are very intelligent and discerning people, and I don't want to insult their intelligence this morning. If we're looking at people that, you know, there was an allegation made that, look, there were thugs, etc. Now, generally, if there are thugs operating in an area, bandits, etc., generally the idea is, you know, the modus operandi, call the police and clear these people out. Generally, that doesn't lead to the demolition of a residential property. So if there are multiple reasons being given for this, which one is kind of the government really standing on to say that, look, this is why we did this, as opposed to all these different reasons that are being given?
Well, the one that stands out most is the fact that the land use requirements have been flouted, and not paying the land use charge over a period of 8 years is enough reason. It's enough reason.
Was he warned? Was it brought to his notice?
Sure.
That Mr. So-and-so,
yes.
you are in breach?
Yes.
You have not paid for 8 years?
Yes.
Was he given a time frame within which to pay?
All those were observed and done.
But you have not been able to show evidence?
And done.
No letters. I mean, by now, we know government. By now, a lot of these letters would have been deliberately leaked so that the public can see, you know, the date, the time, and how much time was given for the warning, and how Senator Hunkui refused to comply. All of that has been made very secret.
When you say leaked, I'm not involved in that, and the government is
I agree. I'm just
that.
Simply saying that normally if government followed due process and took great pains to, by now we would have been seeing such letters. That's what I'm trying, that's the point I'm trying to make. Interestingly, there's been nothing of the sort, and even the statement released by the by Kaduna, does not even say anything about dates or time frame given for warning. And yet you want Nigerians to believe that this is not politically motivated.
It's not politically motivated. It's
Commissioner,
not politically motivated. Because
Commissioner,
yes.
Finally, you know, when you look at the political realities, we can say that politics doesn't matter, but we know that we are heading into an election year. Now, when you take into consideration that Governor El Rufai kind of spearheads the Buharists, as he calls it, within the APC, is there truly no concern at all, not just the National Assembly, but within the APC as a large body, that this could have backlash, this kind of action taken against a legislator, a federal lawmaker, could have backlash that reverberates within the party when you talk about getting to a point where you're going to nominate who's going to run for president?
Well, I have explained to you, Jury, that in governance, you cannot decipher so much between what happens today when you are in this seat and what happens when it comes to time of election. And our emphasis here have been that we do this job and we concentrate on the 4 years that we have been mandated to go through, and then what happens towards the end of the tenure, we take it. If it is God's will that we continue as a government, so be it. And if we don't, for any reason, the people that have the mandate of either voting us back
Mr. Quarry,
or not,
I'm afraid I have to interrupt you. We need to take a moment.
We have a job to do, and we must ensure that this
you'll
job
have
is
the
done.
chance to expatiate a bit more on that answer, and of course take questions from our colleagues in Lagos when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.